Good morning, Ultra Engineers. This is the first live chat since the successful release of Ultra Engine 0.9.8. There's not very many numbers left until 1.0. And this was a big hit. This was a really great update. The response was very, very positive. It was a chance to show off what Ultra can do and push the boundaries of what everyone thought was possible. Very cool stuff came out of this. So let's see. So Ultra Engine 0.98 was released a couple days ago. The big feature is material painting. This was combined with a really good, not just tessellation, but a really good in-depth implementation of tessellation. With tools to prevent cracks forming at the seams of geometry, that's the primary reason why tessellation has never really been popular in the past, but now it's a really well supported feature that you can use every day. Ultra Engine 0.98 also includes the new first-person shooter template. This was done in collaboration with Reap Blue and Andy90. They both did a fantastic job on this. 0.98 also implements a new bloom shader by Klepto2, the wizard of shaders. His bloom shader is just so much better than mine. Check it out. And then we don't have the one thing we don't have ready is the Lua version of some of the C++ components used in the first-person shooter code. They're not ready yet, but I've started converting them yesterday. I got the player and the gun and the bullets working, and so I expect those will be ready next week. So 0.98 is out now. It's on sale this week. You can get it at ultraengine.com or you can get it on Steam. And if you already have Leadworks on Steam, there's actually a bundle that allows you to upgrade to Ultra Engine Pro with a discount. So check that out as well if you have Leadworks on Steam. So material painting. This allows unique details to be added throughout your game levels. It's really good for hiding the texture tiling. You can see here how much better it makes this room look. And it also adds very natural transitions between surfaces. If you have just a bunch of random textures throughout your level, they look like a bunch of random textures throughout your level. When you add some painting in between them, it just ties everything together. It's like the dude's rug from The Big Lebowski. It just ties the room together. Tessellation. We have advanced mesh tools. Check it out in the model editor. There's tools for calculating the displacement for each vertex, which can be used to close seams, and it also give you some options for calculating the average texture UV mapping scale, which is needed to tell the tessellation shader like how far out the surface should protrude. There's also a very advanced brush subdivision. This was actually the hardest part of all of this, was the brush subdivision. It's actually 4 different algorithms, because there's one version for quads, there's one version for polygons other than quads, and then both of those also have another version of the algorithm for when the edge, that skirt of polygons around the edges, is enabled. And it's 4 different, they're not combined at all. It's 4 different big chunks of code. That was the hardest part of this whole project. You also have per vertex and per edge displacement settings, which I actually used here to close some of the seams between some of the blocks here on the floor. So very, very advanced stuff, gives you a lot of control so that you can use tessellation everywhere without having cracks and gaps in it. It makes it an everyday feature you can use every day. The first-person shooter template. This is a short playable game with lots of interactions set up using the flow graph without any programming. And so I actually changed the Steam store page. Previously, I said that Ultra Engine is best suited for intermediate and advanced programmers. and coding is required. And I removed that because this is the start of Ultra being usable as a code optional engine. You can't do everything without code, but you can do quite a lot, and there's a lot of little interactions in this level that I just set up using the components and the flow graph and connecting triggers to actions and setting options. And I was able to do a lot of stuff in here with no programming at all, which is very, very cool. So the results from the we're seeing some results already from the release of 098, and one of them is improved perception of Ultra's graphical capabilities. I'm seeing comments like, wow, I didn't know Ultra could do graphics like this. And that's really good to see. I mean, graphics capabilities are great, but you really need to put it together with good artwork to really show off and show people what it can do. I'm seeing less pushback on like Reddit and stuff in discussions about the claims that Ultra is faster. I'd say it's generally accepted that Ultra, the renderer is faster. Of course, now some people are saying, well, the rendering speed doesn't really matter because what matters is, if you have physics and collisions. And, on one hand, I think they kind of there's some validity to what they're saying. On the other hand, I think some people are just sort of like moving the goalpost because they don't want to be
Yeah.
proven wrong. So maybe the next step could involve showing more like frantic gameplay with lots of stuff going on. That's one idea for the future. One thing that I wasn't expecting is the demo, the first-person shooter demo. That was very well received, not just as an example of Ultra, of what the engine can do, but as a game. Like, people looked at us as, like, considered us to be, like, good game developers because we created that. So the team, working with Andy 90 and Reap Blue was a very good experience. Everyone got to... I think everyone's talents really shows in the demo, and so that was very cool to see. I wonder what we could do, what that team could do in the future. Maybe, who knows? And we also had 5 Steam reviews were added to Ultra on Steam. That was by T Ticky, Dragowit, the Cuzzy, Soru71, and Doctor Who 3D GX. Can we get an applause, the golf clap sound? Thank you guys so much. Steam reviews are the most important thing you can do to help the future of Ultra. The future of Ultra is in your hands. Our review score is very good right now. But it would be nice if the number of reviews go up because it's the way Steam does it is it's a weighted average where you start in the middle, and then it's not just the percentage of high reviews, it's the number of overall reviews that determines whether you're considered positive or very positive or overwhelmingly positive. So getting the number of reviews up as high as possible before the full release on Steam is going to make the launch much, much better. So everyone, your reviews on Steam are very much appreciated. Please, please, if you have not done so yet, give us a thumbs up on Steam. It helps so much. And you don't even have to say, it doesn't really matter what you say. You can just say, like, it's cool, I like it, whatever. It's just having another review in the system that helps to push our score up, which pushes the page visibility up, and it will give us a better launch when the full release goes out. So, let's see. Oh, my mouse batteries are dead. Okay. So the next steps, like I said, the Lua components, I've made a lot of progress already, and I'm going to keep working on that. After that, I'm going to do something different. For the rest of December, I'm not going to be working that hard. I'm not going to start any new features. I'll be doing some stuff here and there. I'm just going to do whatever needs to be done on a day-to-day basis. But I'm not really going to start any new features, and I'm not going to start any new plans. And I'm just going to kind of not really think about the next stage, because that's going to be everything that goes up to the full release. I just, this is the end of two big projects. It's the end of the first person shooter template, which was started back in May or June. And then it's also the end of the conclusion of all the work that I've been doing with material painting and tessellation, which I started in September. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break now and just chill for December, do some things here and there. But I'm not gonna start any new major features, and I'm not gonna make any plans. So that, oh, one other thing.
One more thing.
Well, yeah. So last week, I guess Mark Sibly passed away. Um, Mark Sibly is the creator of Blitz Basic and Blitz 3D and Blitz Max and the Monkey language, and also some stuff with the Amiga, but that was before my time. Um, so 3D World Studio was written in, I think that was written in Blitz Plus. It was written in one of the Blitz languages. The Leadworks editor was written in Blitz Max. A lot of my early learning to program work was in Blitz 3D. It's probably the second programming language I ever used after Dark Basic. Um, a lot, you can still see a lot of the API of Leadworks and Ultra was influenced by the design of the Blitz 3D API. Um, and actually, SCP Containment Breach was also written in Mark's Blitz 3D language. So he was responsible for a lot of the current indie gaming scene. And I was very sorry to hear that. I know, like, a lot of people on the Ultra Engine forum have been around, were around in the using Blitz 3D back in the day as well. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Um, so let's see. Going on, um, let's take a look at some videos. Actually, let's look at the news item here.
Mhm.
We have 3,000 views. There's the effect the material painting has. Very nice job by Reap Blue there. He just went wild with that room, and this wall, I think, in particular, became his canvas. And
Yeah,
he
that little cutout, that's not material paint, that's just cutting out a brush and then using like being very strategic, getting like that pattern out. But I just
yeah,
need something there
it,
because
it gets
that
the
one,
point across.
yeah.
Here's a nice tutorial that shows how to put things together very quickly. The tessellation. This is one of the tools. In If you look in the model editor, there's something that will seal the gaps in a mesh like this.
Mm.
And then let's see if we can. Oh, cool! Andy's here too.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun if we could go through this demo and just talk about each section of it a little bit.
Uh, yeah, and we can also pull up the map real quick too, and we can enable Fulbright because because we're watching a Discord stream. We're watching a YouTube video through a Discord stream, and then people at home are gonna be watching it through another YouTube video. So
Yeah, but each
something
each each step improves the fidelity of the video of the image. So here you can see. Let's see. I like this room because, well, all of the rooms really show all of our influence. Um, the
and
hallway was the hallway
they
was
all
what's that?
No, and they all like you gotta notice that each room did something different to say, yes, we can do this, or here's an example of this. And that was one of the design goals of like the demo is to show you like scenarios of everything. So this is just a spotlight shining down, illuminating a lot of models and textures. So go ahead.
Yeah. Reap Blue created this hallway, and then I decided that this should sort of look like that screenshot that we showed from Stalker 2. I modeled the pipes, which I haven't done any modeling in a long time, but I was able to do a lot of modular props for this, and it was a lot of fun actually. And then Andy painted uh, all the texturing on the pipes and all the props, and he did a fantastic job. And then Reap Blue did the painting on the walls with some different materials. I think
Yeah.
these from Ambient CG.
Yeah, those were you mixing the brick and the tile, and I like said, well, that doesn't make sense, so I just replaced it
Right.
with plaster, and it looks so much better.
Okay, cool. And then one thing that was really interesting that came up here is we were looking for things to do for the floor, and if we just like scattered some objects across the floor, it seemed like everything kind of stuck out really oddly. I found this construction debris material with a bunch of like concrete and bricks and stuff sticking out of it, and I put that down on the floor with displacement, and it looks really really fantastic. That
I
was
think I think you did it first, but you didn't save it, and I had to go on the site, pull it, and then I painted this hallway, and then you changed the tessellation value, and then you painted more in the other room. But yeah,
mm,
but yeah, it was your idea, but I didn't have that implemented, so I was just like, oh, Josh likes this texture, I'm gonna paint this.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was like everybody worked on every room. It wasn't like there wasn't like one room that was one person's. Like everybody worked on everything, and I guess the term is like we saw a lot of
collaboration.
like synergy.
Yeah.
Like I think this is probably like I think what we came up with is better than what each of us would have done on our own. Um, let's see, and so this is just I wanted this to be the first thing that you saw, and I was pretty happy with how this turned out.
I remember we were complaining about how specular the concrete looked outdoors, and now so you created like a new shader just for that scenario, and we didn't use that shader at all because it just looks so good here.
Hmm. Okay.
But I can understand, but that shade is still useful for like development textures and all that.
Yeah.
But it just looks so good, especially on that corner with the plaster, and get that camera right at the angle. Looks so good. I don't know why, but
Cool.
yeah,
So yeah, I really like the part where the pipe just like wraps around the. I like this where the pipe just wraps around the doorway.
yeah, and then it goes up. And,
Yeah, this room sort of showcases the painting really heavily, and it turned out really really nicely.
yeah, this is the first room we experimented with painting, and the first passes were like awful, and then once we like figured out like how to actually use it in
Is
other
that
rooms,
is that is that right there? Is that like so people don't hit their head?
what? Oh no,
The little cones there, is that to so people don't hit their
no,
head on the pipe sticking out?
I just added the coins because I thought it was too empty there. They're just filler props.
It looks natural because that pipe is going around the girder and it's sticking out quite a lot. It looks like something you would uh, want people to avoid hitting their head on.
Yeah, well, I could have deleted that pillar there, but I didn't because you wanted that that idea that the room was built for one thing, and then over time it accumulated all these re- workarounds and updates. So I just made the pipe go around that pillar over there.
I think it looks very natural.
Yeah, it does.
If this was in
Also, No, I was gonna say also that pipe. I really liked how that pipe, and I wanted that pipe to go towards that closet area because I wanted, even though this is a demo, I still like thought about as a level designer. You kind of want the player's eye to follow something to their goal. So
Oh,
that's why, yeah, and that's why I chose red, even though we kind of desaturated the pipes a little bit for this, but and it goes up and into the area, so that's why.
interesting.
Yeah.
Also, if this was in Ukraine, what you would see is you'd see this like plastic stuff that looks like police tape. Like it would be wrapped around this pipe, and then it would be tied around the other end would be tied around the trash can here, and it would be like this red and white stripe, like candy stripe, kind of. That's what you
Yeah.
would see right there.
Yeah, I think they do in New York too, but it would be like orange or something or white. This is
This is the prop room, which, yeah, this right here was a really nice touch. A lot of like environmental storytelling, I guess.
yeah. So the props here, all of them are from most of them are from Sketchfab, and I was looking for models that kind of matched the style we were going for and matched what Andy's quality and everything. So our assets didn't like look too far out of place.
Hmm.
Um, the cabinet, the file cabinet, that was just one model, but I was able to make duplicates of it because the artist was nice enough to like make each drawer and item its own object. So I was able to like make variants of them like being pulled out a certain way or drawers missing. I made the drawer its own prop so it could be on the table over there. And that radio over there was a complete set. And I actually had to split them all up and make them all individual models so you can place them wherever you want in the books. And I made a coffee cup. It's just a lot of like things like that I saw, but they were like one thing, and
Hmm.
then I will, and then I like took it and I manipulated it so it could be more usable by a map level editor.
Yeah, but yeah, some very good choices here.
Yeah. I also want to make a separate TV model. There's that button that's out of place, but
Yeah, it's just people have a hard time finding it, even though it's that big. A lot of times they walk up to this machine and they try to click on the lights here.
yeah, you'd think a hand on a red button would signify them, but yeah, Andy was talking about it earlier. It's like, wow, that button's really, really clean, and it's like, yeah, because that was supposed to be a placeholder, and we just never got to it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I would yeah, I would consider replacing it in the future, but you also like
We could
you don't
paint over it,
yeah,
like Andy
we
said.
also don't want people to get stuck. Here's a nice like it's kind of subtle, but you can see the tessellation on the floor here. When you have that everywhere, it does make a big difference because it makes the ground feel like more natural if it's just
Yeah,
everywhere like that.
things like to get in corners and cavities.
And here's I like this part. Nice little simple jump scare that was set up with the flow graph. It just applies an impulse to the crate and it knocks it over. And what was kind of interesting is that noise that you hear in the background, the original noise was much longer. It lasts for like 10 seconds, and I finally figured I kept revising it and trimming it, and I finally figured out I want that you want that reverb noise to last until the box kind of stops making noise. So there's two noises going on. There's the you're gonna hear this piano reverb like horror sound, and then you're gonna hear the box bouncing around. And I want you to listen very carefully to both of them. And they both kind of fade out at the same time. Um, Originally, it wasn't like that, and that was just like something I learned during the process of this. Just when you have multiple sounds, you kind of want it to all go together because otherwise like originally you would still be walking through this level and that booming that reverb would still be playing. Now here we discovered the particles that there's still some room for optimization on that because the particles right now they have lighting, but they're using the standard lighting shaders. So they're doing for every shadow sample they're doing a 3 by 3 grid, and then that I think that particle emitter has like 50 particles, which doesn't sound like much, but if you have 50 layers of pretty much full screen transparency overlapping it with doing 9 texture samples per pixel, then that really adds up. So I think the solution to that is either a material setting a or another shader family that will only do one texture sample because you can't really see shadows very well in particles anyway, so you don't need more than that. Now you just heard that boom. So right when you hit a little invisible trigger here, you're going to start hearing this hammer sound in the background.
Yeah. Also, this entire area was redone. If you remember, this was like a subway station, like a New York style subway station. And then when I was looking at the models I was getting, sometimes you're inspired by the models you have. When I was doing the other station, I didn't have anything, so everything was just all the brushes. But then we got the tunnel and everything, and I was like, "Oh, I have to rework this entire area." And yeah, and it got reworked into something that's more cohesive to everything that we have or we wanted. So I don't
Yeah.
think a New York subway would have been appropriate. Also, we had these train miles that were just trains, not actual subway trains. We couldn't find good subway trains.
Okay, so now that you've got that metallic clink, and then you go through another trigger, and that fades out the background noise. So all that's left is that repeating hammer sound. So the repeating hammer that kind of raises the player's anxiety level. And now that's all that's left. It sounds like something big is about to happen.
Did the Unreal thing with the Scar introduction.
What's going on? I like that scream, that yell. That roar sounds a lot like the bloodsucker from Stalker.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole combat sequence that came about because of that I guess that was the version that didn't show the monster. So you'll have to compile it and play it to see the monster. But
I have a build on it somewhere on this Discord.
yeah,
They could just download and just play it.
but the so once I so the I had a lot of fun with the sound, and once I had that whole setup, like when I got to the end of originally I was just gonna have like 2 monsters run out, and that was gonna be it. But then after I got done with the sound, I was like, wow, that's such a big dramatic setup that this needs to be a rumble. So
Yeah.
the battle is actually the part we spent the least amount of. We didn't spend much time on that at all because that came at the very end. I would probably add like a couple of more doorways. I would box off the players so they can't get out of the combat area, and I would add some more doorways for monsters to come through, like from the other direction, so that you're surrounded. But yeah, the project was a lot of fun, and the whole team did a really fantastic job. Andy, do you have any thoughts on the
No,
result?
I really like it. So yeah, it's a really cool feature.
Yeah. Well, you guys both like really did a really nice job, and it was a lot of fun working on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm surprised how everything ended up working because I was really worried about blending a lot of different assets and materials together.
Yeah. I think the lighting helped a lot with that,
Yeah.
and then the material painting certainly helped with the level texturing. Yeah, so like I said, I think I'm gonna just like kind of empty my mind for the next 2 weeks, and I don't really want to discuss new features or start implementing them or anything, because there'll be plenty of time for that in the run up before the full release. But yeah, it was a really good update, and I'm glad that it seems like everybody's pretty happy about it. Are there any questions or anything?
No, I just like the fact that we worked. This was the main feature was going to be the template, and then you said, "Oh, well, we're probably not going to get that done." And then like 3 weeks before deadline, you're like, "Let's finish that FPS template." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But it was amazing what we could do in that much short of time span, especially of just we spent months just us just kicking rocks in a sense where we just didn't know what we wanted to do or how we wanted to do things. And then once we like just hyper focus on what we just needed, and um and it's like and we got it done. So
That's true. Like, I mean, the project has been open since like May or June or so, but most of this work was done like in the last 3 weeks, really.
I think material painting helped because it solved issues, and I'm really interested on how this, since now we actually have a detailed map with things going on. It might be even easier to find performance. We could find performance issues, or we can find things with the engine, and then we can test things easier. One issue I find with this demo is I don't know if it's VSync or not, but I feel some latency. I was playing a full screen and I had VSync on because I get terrible screen tearing if I have it on full screen and VSync off. And it does. It's the frame rate doesn't go down, but it feels kind of like sluggish. I felt this with Lebrix too, but maybe in the future that can be fixed. But I don't know if anyone else is having that issue. Maybe when people say they're feeling a little bit of a lag, I think that's what they're encountering, is that like latency issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, but
there's
now we
that one
have.
area with the particles that, um,
That's just a dip. I'm talking about just like walking, like when you walk through the door and make that first right. I
mhm.
sometimes feel like a little bit of a chug there, but
Oh,
uh,
okay. I think,
mhm,
yeah, I think there might, I think the first time a light comes into view,
right.
because the shadow is being rendered for the first time. I
Mm,
think so. I think sometimes you can see some like stutter there because so like a possible solution to that would be to make sure that the engine goes through and renders every shadow map before like at when the first scene is first when the light is first created, I guess. And that way they're
right.
all sort of like cached ahead of time.
Yeah, but now we have a map to test it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really useful for testing. So yeah, the Lua version of that will be ready next week. Um, Made a lot of progress already. So
I do have a question. I don't know if this has anything to do with anything you have in the future, but the components and everything, because we were talking about this last week, where in C++ you have to think about components a little bit differently because of um, the communication between one entity with components and another entity with components. While in Lua, you just check if the function name is there.
mhm.
So how is that like the consistency between C++ and Lua? How is that going to work out? Because you want like someone to just go in and just start placing nodes everywhere and not really programming as much as they had to.
Well, getting the same behavior isn't difficult. I think
Right.
the way I do it is in C++. If I have a lot of things that I'll I'll declare a method in the base component class, and then that way every component has it, or it'll be something like the player class, like the player and the monster both have a get health they're both derived from the same base class, and they have a get health method.
Right.
And in Lua, you can just check and see if that function or that value is there. So that's the way I handle it. But the results, the behavior, it's not very hard to get the same exact behavior.
Right. Also, we were experimenting with like this system. At least I was when I was looking at the components, where every little thing was like its own little piece, and then what I was doing was I was like interconnecting them. Um, is that going to be more looked at in the future, where we can have all these little compartmentalized functionality components, but you can attach them all to the same entity, and then you could theoretically just interconnect them, but without it being more messy.
Mm. In my opinion, when you do stuff like that, you end up with some. Okay, I think it just makes it too complicated, and it doesn't really work out in real life, and you end up with something that neither programmers nor non-programmers understand.
Right, but I'm just since you have that goal in mind, I thought that would be. I'm just trying to like get your perspective on. It. I understand, yeah, that was like really messy, and that was just it didn't really come to fruition, I guess, because it just made me want to do things the way I've been doing things. Just make one component that does everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, when it comes to something like the player controls character AI, people just want to drop a model in and then add one component to it and be done with it.
drag,
If
drop, attach,
Yeah, if
DPA.
there's a bunch of different things that they have to add, then that's I think that's pretty frustrating to them.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's always a judgment call. Like some things work well as compartmentalized functionality, and some things just don't.
right.
I'm
Like,
glad we have the ability to attach multiple components, but like
mhm.
sometimes you can't really break. Sometimes breaking things down into smaller pieces doesn't really help, and it just makes everything like really confusing.
Will this affect your integration with having prefabs having pre-saved connections, or you still want to keep the drag drop attach for everything? Because I would like to.
I don't have any opinion.
No, I just would like to make a contraption that's made with a lot of different entities and different components, and have them all interconnected at start. And I just want to be able to drag and drop that
Yeah,
cluster.
that should be fine.
Yeah, and then but still keep their connections
Yeah,
intact.
that's fine. Yeah, I mean, some you just have to use the right. Everything's a judgment call, and you just have to decide on a case by case basis, like what works best for your game. Um,
Right.
any questions from anyone else? Did you guys enjoy the? Hopefully,
Enjoy the.
I hope a lot of people got to play the game before they saw the videos. I didn't release the videos until after the
Yeah.
update was out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's kind of why I did my build. I just where did publish go? I was looking for the publishing tool and I
It's
couldn't
not
find it.
ready.
Okay, I just zipped everything up and just had the application read a zip file.
Yeah. It was an awesome demo. You got like 400 to 700 frames per second when I turned off VSync. 30% GPU when VSync was at 144
Yeah,
FPS. Yeah.
I'm actually pretty happy with the results because we used a lot of lights, like a lot.
I think like 50,
Yeah,
something
well,
like that.
try doing it in LedWorks. Like your performance would tank.
It'll as if they're not
I
being
think,
updated, then it'll run okay in LEDWorks.
yeah, I think my issue was with shadows and point lights because I have those light bars on along the wall, and
Yeah.
I needed like 2 point lights, but they couldn't have shadows because that was a performance step.
Well, I think you were also running it on a potato, weren't you?
I developed it on 1050, but I want to make sure
Potato,
that,
potato
yeah.
card.
I mean, yeah, but at least it runs well. Like, no one complains about performance in Cyclone.
Is it GPU? The P stands for potato. Graphics potato unit. Is there a way to render 4K without a 4K monitor? Yeah, you could render to a 4K texture and then squeeze that onto the screen. I don't know why you would do that. That would be a terrible way to do anti-aliasing,
um,
but you could.
did you test VR before you shipped? Because we had that issue with
There's an issue with the environment probes, and I didn't have time to fix it, but
Okay.
it'll get looked at soon. I want to test 4K. Yeah. For your card, you'll probably have no problem rendering at 4K. Actually, if you've got like a 4080 or a 90, don't you? Yeah, that'll render no problem. That'll
40 super.
Yeah, that'll 4K will be no problem for it. If you're doing if you have the demo runs good on like a 1080, which is a pretty old card now. It's like the old high end at 1080p. But if you're doing 4K rendering, then you really you'll want something bigger. You'll want a faster card than that. But the old cards are still good for 1080 for HD rendering.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys create, especially with the material painting. I'm really glad to get this out to you so that you can start using it. And I hope you enjoy using Ultra Engine 098. Again, it's on sale this week on Steam and on our website at ultraengine.com. And
Yeah.
thank you for joining us this week.